It was just a bird. That's what the hiker told himself, trying to quiet his pounding heart. He'd seen it on a dead branch, almost unnaturally still. But it was the eyes that got him. They weren't an animal's eyes. They looked ancient, intelligent, and they watched him with an unnervingly human gaze. When it finally launched into the air, it made no sound, not a single flap. It just vanished into the twilight like a ghost. In the deep woods and on the lonely back roads of North America, stories like this are more than just spooky campfire tales. They're echoes of a belief as old as the mountains themselves, that some owls are not what they seem. Today, we're pulling back the veil on the magical mystery of the hexed owl. Across the continent, from the misty forests of the Pacific Northwest to the moonlit borderlands of Texas and Mexico, there are whispers about a creature of the night that's far more than a simple bird of prey. Some say it's a witch in disguise, a messenger from the spirit world, or a chilling omen of doom. For generations, the owl has been a figure of both supernatural power and intense dread. It's a complicated symbol, tangled up with sacred wisdom and malevolent witchcraft, with protection and with death. This contradiction is the very heart of our mystery. Why this one bird? What is it about the owl that has made it a vessel for our deepest fears and beliefs? Join us as we step into the shadows. We'll uncover the chilling history of the hexed owl, exploring the ancient magical beliefs that gave birth to its legend. We'll investigate the most terrifying of these owl witches, explore the owl's role as a psychopomp, a guide for the souls of the dead, and connect these myths to the very real and very eerie biology of the owl itself. The scariest monsters aren't from some other dimension. They're the ones that hide in plain sight, the ones that can look at you with intelligent, human-like eyes. The idea of a witch transforming into an owl is one of the most widespread and terrifying beliefs in North American folklore. It taps into a primal fear of corrupted humanity, of magic twisted for malice. Nowhere is this more vivid than in the stories of the Yakima people in the Pacific Northwest. They tell of the Tata-Clay, giant owl witches that once terrorized their lands. These weren't birds but huge, monstrous women who hunted people, especially children, in the dark of night. Most terrifying of all, they could mimic human language, calling out to their victims to lure them to their doom. Yakima tradition says these ancient monsters were eventually defeated, but that modern owls sprang from the eye of one of the dead witch sisters, a permanent, feathered reminder of the darkness that once was. This fear of the shape-shifting owl witch isn't just in one corner of the continent. It stretches and adapts, soaking up local anxieties. In the southeast, the Seminole people speak of the Stikini. These aren't natural owls, but humans who practice a truly gruesome form of magic. The folklore describes a grotesque ritual. To transform, the Stikini must vomit their souls, along with their blood and internal organs, which they then hang high in the branches of a tree before taking flight as an owl beast. In this monstrous form, they commit unspeakable acts, returning to their human skin before sunrise. The Stikini represents a profound violation of the natural order, a person who willingly casts out their own essence to become a predator of the night. But perhaps the most famous of these owl witches is La Lechuza, whose legend haunts the borderlands of Texas and Mexico. La Lechuza, which just means the owl in Spanish, is said to be a witch who turns into a monstrous bird. Stories claim she can be enormous, sometimes 7 feet tall, with the face of an old woman. Her story is often one of revenge. Many versions say she was a woman wronged by her community, who now returns as a terrifying specter to get even. She preys on those out alone at night, especially abusive men and misbehaving children. Witnesses claim she'll whistle or cry like a baby to lure her victims outside. To answer that call is to invite your own doom. The tales of La Lechuza are so powerful that even today, people in the Rio Grande Valley share first-hand accounts of hearing her chilling screeches or seeing a massive bird swoop in front of their cars on lonely roads, a modern, terrifying continuation of an age-old legend. Beyond being a witch, the owl plays another, equally powerful role, a messenger between our world and the spirit world. This is one of the most widespread beliefs in indigenous cultures. A huge number of tribes, including the Lakota, Omaha, Cheyenne, Creek, and Cherokee, traditionally see owls as being connected to the spirits of the dead. The sound of an owl's hoot in the dead of night is often heard not as an animal call, but as the voice of an ancestor trying to make contact from beyond the veil. For the Ojibwa, the owl is a key figure in the soul's journey, acting as a gatekeeper or guide that helps spirits cross over to the afterlife. This makes the owl's presence both sacred and profoundly unnerving. Hearing its call could mean a loved one is trying to speak to you, but the message isn't always comforting. In many traditions, the owl is a flat-out harbinger of death. For the Apache and Choctaw people, an encounter with an owl, or even just dreaming of one, is a direct omen that a death is coming. The blood-chilling screech of the horned owl, in particular, was believed by the Choctaw to belong to a spirit called Ishkitini, a nocturnal hunter whose call signaled a sudden death, like a murder. The appearance of certain owls only deepens this dread. The great horned owl and the screech owl are often seen as the most supernaturally charged. Their horns are just tufts of feathers, also called plumicorns. But while they have nothing to do with hearing, they are functional. They help camouflage the owl by breaking up its silhouette and are used for communication between owls. Still, in many tribal cultures, horns are a symbol of immense power, setting these owls apart. The Cheyenne even believed horned owls weren't birds at all, but shape-shifted spirits, forever trapped between the physical and spiritual realms. This belief system runs so deep that among the Navajo, it is said that if you listen closely to an owl, you might hear your own future whispered on the wind. But this is a double-edged sword. As one Navajo story about the hero monster slayer goes, after he turned a monster into an owl, he declared its nature. Sometimes you will tell the truth, and sometimes you will lie. This captures the essential, unsettling nature of the owl's role. It's a being of immense knowledge, but its wisdom is wild, untamed, and not always meant for us. It brings truths, but those truths are often the gravest kind: sickness, punishment, and death. So we have owls as witches and owls as spirit guides. But why the owl? What is it about this specific bird that made it the perfect vessel for so much supernatural energy? If you're finding this journey into the shadows as fascinating as we are, take a second to subscribe and click the bell icon. We have many more mysteries to unveil, and you won't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's connect the myth to the reality. Folklore doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's born from observation, from our attempts to explain the unexplainable. The owl's fearsome reputation is a direct result of its unique and genuinely unsettling biology. When you look at the creature itself, you start to see how it became a monster in our minds. First, and most famously, there's its silent flight. Most birds make noise. You can hear the rush and flap of their wings, not the owl. The front edges of its primary feathers are serrated, like a tiny comb. This simple adaptation breaks up the air turbulence over the wing, muffling the sound almost completely. Imagine it. You're standing in a silent forest at dusk, and a large shape glides right over your head without making a sound. It feels unnatural. It feels spectral, like a ghost just passed by. It's a perfect adaptation for an ambush predator. But for a human, it's the stuff of nightmares. And of course, there are the eyes. An owl's eyes are massive in proportion to its skull, but they aren't round eyeballs like ours. They're long, tube-shaped structures that are fixed in their sockets. That's why an owl has to do that incredible, unsettling head turn. It literally can't glance from side to side. This fixed, forward-facing stare gives it an unnerving, intelligent quality. When an owl looks at you, it really looks at you. It feels like an assessment. That intense gaze, combined with its nocturnal habits, makes it the perfect vessel for our fear of being watched from the darkness by something ancient and knowing. Finally, its very nature as a master of the night sets it apart. While we're diurnal, sleeping, and vulnerable in the darkness, the owl owns it. It sees what we can't, hears what we can't, and moves through the shadows with lethal grace. It represents everything we don't know about the world that exists just beyond the glow of our campfires and streetlights. All of these biological traits, the silence, the haunting calls, the piercing stare, and the nocturnal dominance, are the perfect ingredients to build a legend. You might think these beliefs belong to a bygone era, something you'd only find in dusty folklore books. You'd be wrong. The magical owl is alive and well, woven directly into our modern culture. One of the most obvious examples is J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, which introduced the idea of the owl as a loyal and intelligent companion to a massive global audience. Hedwig, a snowy owl, became a beloved character, cementing the owl as a symbol of magical communication. While owls were already seen as symbols of wisdom in some cultures, like in ancient Greece with the goddess Athena, the series gave this image a huge modern boost. We also see wise, mystical owls in films like The Secret of NIMH and the animated series Avatar. The Last Airbender, where an ancient spirit named Wan Shi Tong appears as a giant owl guarding a supernatural library. At the same time, the owl's darker side is thriving. The legend of La Lechuza isn't just history, it's an active urban legend. In the age of smartphones and social media, stories of encounters with the witch owl continue to spread across Texas and Mexico. People share their stories on podcasts and forums, discussing recent sightings of a giant bird with an unnervingly human-like face. These modern tales often have a fascinating twist, sometimes framing La Lechuza as a figure of vigilante justice who targets drunk drivers or abusers, a supernatural force delivering justice where human systems fail. Beyond specific legends, the owl remains a powerful symbol for the creepy and unknown. Look at the Owlman of Cornwall, a cryptozoological legend from the 1970s about a winged humanoid with glowing red eyes. When we imagine a mysterious winged creature of the night, we often default to an owl-like form. The hexed owl hasn't disappeared. It has simply shapeshifted, adapting from ancient folklore to modern urban legends and blockbuster movies. It just goes to show the owl's grip on our imagination hasn't loosened one bit. From a shape-shifting witch hunting in the dark to a solemn guide for the spirits of the dead, the owl is a creature of deep contradiction. It is a symbol of wisdom and an omen of death, a protector of warriors and a monster that steals children. It's more than just a bird, it's a mirror. In its silent flight, we see our fear of the unknown. In its haunting call, we hear the voices of those we've lost. And in its ancient, unblinking eyes, we see a piece of the wild, untamable world staring back at us, reminding us that the line between the natural and the supernatural is razor thin. The story of the hexed owl is one we've been telling for centuries, woven from real biological wonders and our deepest, most primal fears. It endures not just in folklore, but in the eerie silence of a forest at midnight, in the sudden, soundless glide of a shadow overhead. The mystery of the hexed owl is, in the end, a mystery about ourselves. So the next time you hear a strange call echoing in the darkness, you might just find yourself wondering, is it just a bird? Or is it a messenger, a witch, a story taking flight? We'd love to know what you think. Have you ever had an uncanny experience with an owl? Share your story in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into the world of folklore and mystery, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for more explorations of the unexplained.